mad at Ubisoft feels like getting mad at a dog for getting into the garbage. Sure, they do greedy and annoying things, but I never felt that they were actively evil, unlike some other companies. Instead of attributing malice, I feel like attributing stupidity. I just get that feeling, you know? I think you'll see what I mean when I show you the only way I can. Top 10 Ubisoft Fails. Back in the day, Rayman was to Ubisoft what Mario and Sonic are to Nintendo and Sega. But then, everything changed when the Rabbids attacked. As Rabbids games kept popping out, the original title character had been pushed further and further out of the spotlight. That is, until Rayman Origins came out, giving a little bit of light to the franchise.
I am alive!
I can see that.
Then Rayman Legends was announced, which seemed to be more of the same greatness and a promising launch title for the then upcoming Wii U. It was heavily featured in demos of the console, and for good reason. The levels they featured really showed off the capabilities of the Wii U and got people really hyped. And then the game got delayed. Now, that in and of itself is not a fail. After all, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. Mostly anyways. No, why this is a fail is the reason it got delayed. Because Ubisoft wanted to port it to other consoles and release them all at the same time.
So, why didn't you just release it now and then port it later?
This isn't being considerate, this is spiting some very excited gamers for... I can't figure out the reason why! Now don't get me wrong, Rayman Legends was still great and that's why it's so low on the list, but Ubisoft's bizarre decision really hurt the Wii U, both at launch and in the long term.
But the Wii U's failure is a story for another time. I'll get to you. Chill.
Since the turn of the millennium, the open world or sandbox genre has been massively popular. The ability to do whatever you want in a big open world is an enticing idea to many people. It's easy to get lost in many of these games, exploring the environment, doing side activities, completing missions, finding collectibles, or running over pedestrians.
Hey, you do you.
So with the genre being so successful, it's only natural that competition would arise. And as we've seen time and time again, the latest trend in gaming can only exist for so long before it becomes an oversaturated mess. And no studio is more guilty of this than Ubisoft. Since the start of the decade, Ubisoft has released countless open world games and they've become more and more similar to the point where they might as well be the same. It's caused many of Ubisoft's franchises, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, The Crew, to lose their identities and just become more drops in the bucket to be released yearly. Good, memorable sandboxes take time. Games like Breath of the Wild had a long development cycle and they received praise because of the effort. Not to mention, size doesn't equal quality. The Yakuza series has shown that a smaller but densely packed open world can be just as, if not more effective. Meanwhile, at Ubisoft, you can practically make the design document with a Mad Libs.
You know, that gets me to thinking, how is it that Ubisoft can release like 50 billion sandboxes in a year, and yet they're still more stable than the ones Bethesda releases after 6?
Ubisoft's E3 presentations are...
bizarre!
Now, strange is not necessarily bad or good, but many times Ubisoft seems to flounder around without a clear direction. They've had great E3s before, so sometimes it works. I remember that one adorable moment where they forgot to turn off their mics. See, when they don't try and force being relatable, they're fun.
When they do, you get Mr. Caffeine.
And thanks to the Sony move, here, hold my Joy Wand.
No.
Whenever Ubisoft shows up to E3, you just know that it's going to get weird. Mostly for the worse. Mr. Caffeine, for instance, was a really cringy attempt to try and get their own version of the Reginator.
It didn't work. It did not work.
Then there are the incredibly staged demos. Most other companies do this, but Ubisoft is a bad offender. They're just extra long gameplay trailers that has someone faking playing in front of it. The fact that they think we can't tell that they have everything pre-recorded or everything is scripted is kind of insulting. Why bother lying anyways? It just adds to the marketing failure when what we see isn't what we get, hi watchdogs. And finally, they're just silly. Bringing in hosts like Aisha Tyler wasn't always bad, but the cringe was a toss-up. And when they do the Just Dance dances, yeah, why are these games still on the original Wii? Ubisoft's E3 presence isn't bad per se, but it is strange and weird. Really weird. Except what they did with Watch Dogs, that was bad, but we'll get there eventually.
At least they didn't spend 10 minutes raising a car. Wouldn't put it past them.
How do you f up Tetris?
Well, let's start with the advertisement. We have a lazy jerk and an overworked office lady somehow get into a weird form of Tetris involving their office supplies, culminating in wholesale murder of their boss. Fun for the whole family. As for Tetris Ultimate itself, well, Ubisoft was basically trying to reinvent the wheel when the wheel worked just as well as it always had. Tetris is one of the most iconic and simple games of all time. You fit different shaped blocks into each other and then make a line across the screen and bingo bango Bob's your uncle. And somehow, Ubisoft's new wheel rolled like a brick. Not only did Ubisoft throw in a bunch of unneeded additions to the classic Tetris, with achievements of all things, but the shipped product was a glitchy mess. The game had performance lag up the wazoo, which is ridiculous when the game worked better on tech from the 80s. Things were apparently so bad that Tetris Ultimate was withdrawn from the Steam store. That is how you know you done fucked it up. Just how? How do you screw up Tetris?
You had one job. One job.
I love pre-orders. No, wait, that's not right. For years, developers have been trying to get people to buy their games ahead of time using fancy pre-order bonuses like a cool poster or an in-game item. Well, leave it to Ubisoft to not only create whole editions of their games to entice players, they have to make it so freaking complicated to the point where you need an organization chart just to understand it.
So if I buy the special edition, I get the game and 2 DLCs?
Yes, but if you get the Digital Deluxe Edition, you get the game and 2 other DLCs.
Is there any edition that lets me have all 4 DLCs?
Yes, the Gold Edition, but if you get the Platinum Edition, you get 3 DLCs and a completely new one.
Is there any edition that lets me have everything?
Only if you live in Europe.
Watch Dogs, For Honor, Rainbow Six Siege, The Division. All games with a bunch of special editions that can range from being system exclusive to region exclusive. Again, look at this chart for just Watch Dogs. If you want to get everything, you need to spend a lot of money getting each DLC or at least 3 editions. Recently, they've gone back a bit on this by not including starter editions anymore, but the fact that the most recent game to do this is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which came out last year, makes me doubt it's going away anytime soon.
I mean, who knows? Watch Dogs Legions might not have any special editions.
I've already stated how at E3, Ubisoft can make some pretty boneheaded decisions. One of their biggest mistakes was how they presented Watch Dogs at E3 2012. First impressions wowed the crowd. The level of detail in the graphics at such a smooth frame rate was jaw-dropping for the time. The idea that you could be some super hacker vigilante in the Windy City was a really neat concept. And the fact that the game seemed to advertise fighting smart rather than just being a GTA clone. People were pumped and couldn't wait to play it.
Then it released.
The game ended up being just another Ubisoft sandbox GTA clone with a hacking cone of paint on the side. Most of the mission objectives were extremely easy, and you could solve all your problems by blowing them up or shooting. But the graphics were a major downgrade, even on the PC, that they reached nowhere near the level of detail shown at E3.
Yeah, that's one fine-looking barbecue pit. Why doesn't mine look like that?
Oh, but it gets good, and there's a reason for that. Some intrepid hackers found out you could get graphics near the E3 level of detail if you manually turned on the aptly named E3 Theater mode. This meant that Ubisoft purposely neutered the graphics on the PC version so that it wouldn't overshadow the console versions in comparison.
Equality for all.
While many companies have embellished how good their products are, gamers hadn't really experienced a bait and switch this heavy in a long while. Many tried to get refunds, some even sued for false advertising. I'd love to say that Ubisoft learned from this to not cheat their customers, but that would be lying, as they would do the same thing again with The Division, Rainbow Six Siege, and the Far Cry sequels.
It's like having your dog continuously pee on the carpet and it still doesn't no matter what you say. Hey! No! Bad game! Shame on you!
developers need to spend less time hyping up a game and spend more time actually making sure the game is good on release. In 2013, Ubisoft announced their next big hit, Tom Clancy's The Division. And then they spent the next 3 years hyping it up, showing off the new engine they made for it, showing off the open world, its multiplayer, and cool PvP with a very manipulative E3 demo. When it was released in 2016, it became Ubisoft's best release date at the time in terms of sales. But when people actually played it, the overall opinion was pretty divisive.
Yeah, okay.
While the normal story wasn't terrible, the overall gameplay mechanics were janky. Like a lot of non-Borderlands loot shooters, the Division's loot system was done very poorly. Also, the PvP arena was overrun with hackers on the PC version, and the late game was super boring with bullet sponges for enemies and no major progression past the main story. Also, how do you have NPCs only talk to one player at a time? It's an MMO for Pete's sake! People got this right years ago! How do you screw up something this simple?
It's time to think why I see Ubisoft as dumb rather than malicious.
Now, to give them credit, Ubisoft did get their crap together and made the game much better through future content updates. Plus, when the sequel came out, it was good right out of the gate. But the fact that Ubisoft spent so much time hyping this game up just for it to be poor on release is pretty bad. I think you can see a pattern here.
You know what's a surefire way you can tell when a franchise runs itself into the ground? When this is the literal face of your game.
It's a darn shame what happened to the Assassin's Creed franchise. The game started to decline after Brotherhood, but after the success of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, fans were excited for the next installment. Ubisoft promised a return to form with large sprawling cities, but also new innovations like drop-in-and-out multiplayer. With the next game set during the French Revolution of 1789, players were pumped to see how the Assassin's Creed alt history story would tackle it. Unfortunately, at launch, players were instead subjected to such a glitch-riddled mess at launch, a Roach Motel would have less bugs. Character models going crazy, falling through the floor, textures not loading, and many, many more. Not to mention the terrible DRM that was on PC versions that would cause the frame rate to dip into single-digit levels. And just to add a cherry on top of this glitchy sundae, the ability to connect to your friends' games and join them on their Assassin's Quest was nearly impossible to do thanks to crappy netcoding and servers that just seemed to never work.
VHS tapes that I've ever
I can't spell you!
As if the glitches weren't enough of a black eye to this game, the rest of it also suffered from a troubled production. When asked why in multiplayer gamers couldn't be a female assassin, the response from Ubisoft was that women were too hard to animate. Which on Twitter, a developer debunked and said it was a publisher decision not to include. As if that needed debunking. Then Ubisoft also went on to say that the slower frame rate for their game made them more cinematic.
I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit.
To make matters worse, Ubisoft found themselves in hot water with politicians in France over the portrayal of the entire French Revolution. They were criticized as making Unity too anti-revolutionary and called it propaganda that favors the narrative of France's ruling elite over the revolutionaries. Even years later, Unity is still seen as a black eye for Ubisoft, or to game reviewers as a punchline.
Tough crowd.
While originally more of an underground phenomenon compared to consoles, PC gaming has exploded over this decade, with many gamers who originally grew up on consoles finding the PC to be their main platform.
I just realized! What? We're probably being watched on a computer right now. Those defeat all of us combined!
This has led to many franchises, even ones outside of America, being ported to the PC. Unfortunately, many companies are content to release broken PC ports and opt to fix them later. If even that. And it seems that Ubisoft is particularly lazy when it comes to this. Assassin's Creed Unity went from a barely playable mess on consoles to a completely unplayable mess on PC due to the lag and stuttering somehow being worse. Not to mention, many of the games in the series straight up don't start if they don't load from your C drive. While that doesn't seem like a problem to the average consumer, it's a deal breaker to anyone who wants to store their games on an external drive. To say nothing of Ubisoft's usage of DRM. I'll get more into that later, but I'm trying to keep this particular segment focused on how bad their PC games are on the road. Assassin's Creed Origins, for instance, which actively used your system's resources on the DRM. Ubisoft claimed that wasn't true, but videos of the top-of-the-line PCs struggling to run the game say otherwise. We are never fooled, Ubisoft. Stop trying. As a quick honorable mention, the weird Tetris to sell its lawsuit. Really, there wasn't a winner on either side. Yeah, DeSeltz won the creative rights to the 1666 Amsterdam back, but too bad he never got around to actually making the game. This whole situation was just weird. As I said, Ubisoft loves DRM. But what if they were to take that annoying element and ramp it up to 11 with a storefront that is publisher first, servers that are down more often than up, and now a subscription model for streaming services, meaning you don't own anything you buy?
It doesn't matter. All DRM does is encourage piracy. Now, I won't advocate for piracy, as stealing is wrong.
You're fitted indeed. Being a pirate is a wretched deed. Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Intended to fight against piracy, all this dumb restrictive mess of a system did was inconvenience the consumer by having to be online to play single-player games.
Got a spotty internet connection? Sucks to be you!
And every single time, the pirates find a way to crack it. With Steam dominating the digital distribution service market, publishers are always looking for a way to circumvent it to increase their profit line. While there's nothing inherently wrong with this idea, how Ubisoft went about executing their lovely service is another matter entirely. First off, no matter where you purchase your game from, be it Steam, Amazon, Good Old Games, etc., you will always need to run Uplay alongside it. Secondly, players have been locked out of their games because the servers for Uplay are either down or under maintenance, and this happens frequently. The user interface, while slightly better in recent years, is still a mess with menus within menus, bulging and ugly design choices, and a system hog on PC that it slows down everything.
What? 11%? I started downloading this thing like 2 days ago.
Oh, but wait, there's more! Players have had cases where downloading games took multiple hours and even more retries to get their games installed, only to still be stalled from playing because of the shoddy connection. Others with Windows 10 have had error messages where Uplay itself is considered malware or an unusable program by the operating system. I mean, it kind of is, but that's not the point. Or how about that if you want to patch your games, you can't manually tell it to do so. No, what you need to do is restart the launcher and pray that it finally decides to update. And even then, there's the fact that it was just another service that gamers really didn't want that was forced upon them. When the only way you can get people to use your game launcher is at gunpoint, it's not going to be well liked. Overall, consumers can only hope that Ubisoft fixes the gigantic eyesore that is their storefront, but with them now pursuing an always online streaming subscription, I predict that it will take the entire service crashing and burning before that happens.
I'm the Fiery Joker, and... Oh no, next month's Bethesda.
Cut!